next is Charles Tarlton. He is a retired politics professor from California and New York who grew up in the Southwest, enamored of the sights and the scents of the desert, who has always been sad that he missed the heyday of the frontier. Poetry has always been the center of his life, even while he pursued a career and a living teaching nonfiction ideas. In recent years, he has focused mostly on poetry, writing poetry, and which is giving him the opportunity to compile a second resume. He lives on the shore now in Connecticut with his wife, Anne Knickerbocker. She is an abstract painter, and Nikki, their black standard poodle. So take it away, Charles.
Well, the first thing is that we picked up a second poodle, a white standard poodle named Jessie. So they are an exciting pair together. So anyway, I enjoyed those poems that she just read. I thought they were, as they said, I thought that they were quite courageous. So my poetry doesn't have much of a social perspective. It's all observation of the environment I'm in. This one comes, we used to live in Northampton, Massachusetts, and my wife grew up down here on the Connecticut shore. And one day, as a penance for having been less than kind to her, I brought her down to look at the Connecticut shore, and we both decided that we were going to live here. So we put our house up for sale and sold it and bought a little place down here where out from this window, I can see a patch of the ocean and the outline of Long Island on the other side. So this book comes from a year or so of living at the beach, which has had, it's a phenomenal experience. But anyway, this first one, yes, that's a Littoral. Littoral, I'm never sure how to pronounce that. I think it's Littoral. The first poem is called Terpsichore, and it's about, of course, the shore. Here we go. A gray herring gull fights wildly in the onshore wind like a kite on its string, somersaults all elbows and angular. Trees applaud and sway seductively. From where I am watching through my window, well out of the wind, there is a music playing, something with violins. Leaves vibrate on their twigs and stems, and the gull begins deliberately to dance. Devising Isadora Duncan moves a barefoot bird, feathers maneuvering toward a climax, and then he turns, and the wind lifts him from behind, and he sails away, skiing down the wind. How sand dunes and waves are dancing. And the second one, none of these poems have names. They're all just numbered, thanks to my editor. This is number 14. I waited near the canvas until the guard was looking away, and I was able to slip in between the women walking under the blooming green and yellow chestnut trees in Van Gogh's painting. That's me there in the red dress, tagging along. The darkness stands at bay in a wood or park corner, and is that a cloud? Oh, France, oh, my beloved. These are, let's say, patchy yellow and green painted streets under the yellow and white flowers, and a woman in a yellow dress and a woman in a green dress, green that almost disappears in the verdant growth. Trees accumulate to fill the vision, a cloud of green leafage swelling as if, and there were time, they would consume the picture. And a green man is coming along. He's wearing a red beret. He would be leaving the restaurant with its many reds, doors and gutters and chimneys, and the women are going in that direction. I'm eager to eat something, so I'm hurrying along in my red dress, with the women in their yellow and green dresses, dresses the color of the trees and roads. With the green man comes a story, perhaps of an awkward intrusion menacing the green and yellow French day. Is he watching the women? My dress is the color of the stranger's beret, and the chimneys, of course. That wasn't about the seashore. That was about one of my favorite paintings. So anyway, this is a little painting, number 18, or a little poem, number 18. Night concedes its domination of the sky, and at the first hint of the sun, like an elixir poured into wine, threads of sunlight diffuse through the inky darkness, thinning it, diluting it, running it through the color wheel from black through purplish gray to sudden bleeding reds along the far horizon's edge as dawn tears its way through. Morning arrives with skies gone all pale blue. Now, here's another one that's not about the ocean, so I'll read this one too. This is number 19. Everyone I knew in high school is either old and rich now or they died too young somewhere along the way. One good friend was killed in a motorcycle crash. A pickup truck ran into him on the night his second daughter was born. Another guy's Skyhawk was shot down over Hanoi. Still a third retired early, only to die almost immediately from a pervasive cancer. Once I realized I'd outlived nearly everybody, I resolved to treat each day special. You know, make up for being the one still alive. But the days went by so fast, I had trouble separating that moment when the sun was just coming up and from when it was going down. But hold up here. I'm sorry, but the guy who's been telling this story has been shouted down. Somebody else wants the microphone. But the crowd's getting itchy, so the proprietor is called for a round on the house. A very tiny but perfectly proportioned man tries to get everybody's attention, but he can't reach the mic, and he just stands there hollering his head off. And this is about our black standard poodle, the first one, Nikki, number 20. Nikki the poodle is reluctant to move off her mat as all around her signs of impermanence are thick in the air. Books are going into boxes, the china plates wrapped and crated, rugs are being rolled and tied, the icebox has been emptied and the bed stripped. The big orange truck pulls up and the guys are coming in. The dog is up at the window now and barking furiously. She's not about to let this happen on her watch. This is on number 29. It's not very informative titles, I'd say. This starts with a quote from Daniel Defoe, his book Robinson Crusoe. I had 3 encouragements. First, a smooth, calm sea. Secondly, the tide rising and setting into the shore. Thirdly, what little wind there was blew me towards the land. My line of sight stretches from our back porch out to the sound, and then bends where the marsh in May is turning green, and over the marsh to a lacy scrim of surf right-angled to my line. You'd never be able to sing any of this. There are blue blossoms on the lilac bush. Even up close, the sea stays that far away. Its mysteries are older than almost anything. Most of it lies underneath the often wild surface, and it's the wind that kicks it up. The depths are still, dark, and cold. A frantic house wren caught by its own claws in the window screen, his life before his eyes. The waves rise up in the wind, come onto shore and shatter against the rocks, their white fingers clawing at the sky. They've been sent in here from long distances by the wind, from far out to sea, where it makes swells as big as hills. In the time we've been here, all the leaves have come out on the trees, is how shade is made. No one ever sits on the shore and turns their back to the sea. I guess I'll read just one more. I'm just trying to choose one here. My wife chose all these for me, and I've been cheating on her list. So. This is a little true story. Years ago, I was a professor. I did a lot of work on Machiavelli, and I spent quite a bit of time in Florence, in Italy. And this is a little poem from one of those visits when I was staying in a pensione. On a darkening Sunday afternoon in Oltre Arno, Firenze, in the rain, a variegated parrot scurrying up and down a painted pipe that reached 3 floors up and down, fuori dalla finestra. Up and down he clawed, 1 foot chained to the pipe like a handcuff, up and down, talking in Italian all the while. Buttiamo tutto, he squawked. Esche dalla mia vita, esche dalla mia vita, which means, get out of my life.
Oh, no, you're wonderful. And that was a great one to end with.
Yeah.
Get out of my life.
It's I never write sad poems, so poetry is a way of celebrating, I think. So, but everyone has their own conception of the purposes of art, and
absolutely. That's what makes poetry especially, well, even art, all art really, but poetry is so personal, and that even for the reader will read something into the poem that the author had no intention.
Oh, it's such amazing. Watching my wife is one of the fun things that she goes from phase to phase, so that she'll spend like 6, 8, 10 months working on a handful of paintings that she has found something that she's trying to do with them, and then they're finished. Mm. And I have the same, and then the same thing happens to me sometimes, is that she goes into a fallow period, and it's quite depressing. And so, and nobody's happy in the house when the other one is unable to produce anything. And then she'll come up with a new idea. And it's just extremely pleasant to watch it burst into pictures and stuff. So, but anyway, art is a funny business. I don't know that much about it, so I know a lot about my mother.
I was going to say the idea of fallowness is what the earth does, right? Before it can recreate. So it produces a crop, and then it goes fallow, and then it produces a crop. And that's beautiful way of thinking about you and your wife and your experience with.
Well, what's really been fantastic for us is that we never tire of each other's company. That's really good. Wow. So. But then the second thing, of course, was the pandemic, which because I'm older and I just was desperate not to catch it. So we have really followed a strict regimen of isolation, and we still haven't really come out of it yet, even though everyone here in Connecticut acts like there never was a plague. It's just nothing. But all you have to do is look in the Times to see how many people are dying. So anyway, but it's not as bad as it was, of course. But anyway, so we are together constantly, and doing this art, and it's really quite nice. I like it. So all right, so that's it for me, huh?
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Charles.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. And so Candace will put this up on YouTube when she's had a chance to look through it. And thank you so much for your wonderful poetry and your personality. You're obviously a happy man.
I am great.
Smile.
All right, I'm going to go and cook some chicken.
Sounds good. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.